Okay, I'm back. Little update. I didn't repair my quarantine tank. I have a confession to make. It looks like the same quarantine tank, but it's not. I did some research and I asked a few people what they thought about replacing the silicone in that small quarantine tank. It's just a 10-gallon tank. And from what I learned is that if the seam gave way, the silicone in the seam gave way, and it leaked, then the adhesive between the glass panes gave way, and that's a little bit too much of a project for me to deal with a 10-gallon tank. So luckily, shortly after my leak incident, Petco had their, or is having their $1 per gallon sale. So I went out and spent $10 on this tank, set it up, and we're back in business. As you can see, I have a couple of cardinal fish in there. They've been in there for about 5 days now, so they got a little ways to go in quarantine. So I figured I'd use this video to talk about quarantine tanks, how to set one up, what I like about them, and if there's anything I don't like about them. But anyway, I set up the quarantine tank and I wanted to boost my beneficial bacteria so I wouldn't get any spikes in ammonia, so I started using Stability by Seachem. Works pretty well. I have no ammonia spikes in the tank at all, and I know that because I set up my Seachem ammonia alert badge. I like that. Some people don't. Some people don't use them. Some people say they're not accurate or they don't like them, but I have good luck with them, so I am going to continue to use them. Behind the Seachem badge, you see my power head, and I have a power head instead of an air stone for two reasons. I like the extra circulation in the tank that the power head causes, and also the power head's not going to absorb any medication that I put in there like an air stone would. An air stone would most likely absorb any copper that I have to treat the tank with in the event that I do, so that could be an issue. On the other side I have my heater and a simple thermometer. I think that thermometer cost me $3 at the local fish store, and that's just a 50 watt heater. And I have a hang on the back filter that's just running a sponge right now. Pretty simple setup. Not super expensive. I didn't break the bank on this tank. And last but not least, I have the PVC trap in there. It's really important that you put something in the tank for the fish to hide behind, hide inside, swim around, things like that. So the fish are healthy from what I can see so far, but I am treating prophylactically with Prazipro for any kind of parasite or worm that might infect the tank. And in the event that I start seeing any ick show up in the next couple of weeks, then I'm going to have to start dosing with the copper. Not a big fan of dosing with copper. I know it's harsh on the fish. Hopefully they don't have ick, and we'll go in the display tank in a couple of weeks. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm a fan of the quarantine tank. I learned my lesson the hard way, unfortunately. When I first started out in the hobby, I said to myself, oh, I don't need to quarantine my fish. What's going to happen? Well, what happened was an ick outbreak in my display tank, and what a project it is to get your fish out of your display tank when you have live rock and all kinds of things in there, and they can hide behind 100 places in a 55-gallon tank. So basically what you have to do is you have to break down your tank, get all the rock out so you can catch the fish, get the fish out, get the quarantine tank set up with display tank water, and get the fish into your quarantine tank. Then put your display tank back together, put your rock work back together, put water back in your display tank, and you're back in business. But let me tell you, it was a half a day's project, and I was completely aggravated. The next day I went out and I bought a quarantine tank, and I learned my lesson. Actually, I had a quarantine tank, but I didn't use it. So hard lesson learned. Anyone who's contemplating not quarantining tank, yeah, I'm stuttering over my words today. I'm sorry about that. But anyone who's thinking about not quarantining their fish, my recommendation is quarantine everything. Quarantine your fish, because an ick outbreak is a pain in the neck. The good things about the quarantine tank, I can observe my fish. There's not a whole lot of places for them to hide. I can look at them every day. I can see how their health is going. I can treat them with medicines that you can't put in your display tank because it'll kill any bacteria. And you're not going to, well, you run much less risk of getting an infection in your display tank. Any bad things that I can see about having a quarantine tank? Yes, I hear about it from my wife once in a while that we have 2 fish tanks in the living room. I'll probably move this somewhere out of the site. It's running on the electric bill, so there's a little added cost there. That's about really all I can say that is a negative for quarantine tanks. Some people think the fish are stressed out more because they get shipped to the local fish store, then they go to your house, they go into the display tank, the quarantine tank. There's a lot of moving around that stresses the fish out, but I believe that sitting in here a month, they're going to calm down and they won't be as stressed when they go into the display tank. Plus, I can make sure they're eating right and they're healthy. So anyway, that's just a quick video. I don't want to get too long because between the beginning of this video and this, it's starting to get a little long. Please subscribe. This is how I learned, by going on YouTube when I was brand new into the hobby about a year ago, and I'm trying to return the favor to everybody on YouTube with my thoughts on the hobby. So like I said, please subscribe, please like the video, and comment. I welcome positive and negative comments because that's how we learn. Alright, this is it. Reef Rookie out. And remember, keep your water clean and your fish fat.